Welcome in, guys. What is going on? And we are live here as we finish up the week here, 25th of February, 2022, last full week of February trading. So excited to see how things finish up. And as you guys can probably tell, I mean, across the board here, look at the heat map. We're pretty freaking green. I mean, across the board, a lot of the tech stocks that were up a ton yesterday are not up as much today. So if you notice yesterday, the big names across the top of our screen were up. Like we're super bright green. Now you're seeing a lot of the other names that are kind of picking up the slack, and all those stocks are kind of green. So what performed really, really well yesterday isn't necessarily all doing very, very well today, but generally speaking, everything's pretty green across the board. We have over 72% of stocks advancing today, 23% declining. We had 100 new lows, which is still, I guess, somewhat concerning to a degree, and 75 hit new highs, which we are though skewed because a lot more stocks are near or closer to their lows. So kind of not surprised by that, but also not a ton of stocks hitting new lows, and some more movement above the moving averages, at least as of late. So that's what we're noticing across the board there. Let's take a look at the overall market right now. Here's SPY today. We'll talk about SPY. We'll talk about, how everything is setting up in small caps, and we'll talk about biotechs have been kind of weak, or have shown some relative weakness today, related to, or at least compared to SPY. They were pretty strong yesterday, I guess everything was pretty strong yesterday, but they were noticeably stronger earlier. And then now as we speak, though, SPY is kind of just consolidating here. I have a speculation that we're going to squeeze out further and hit a new high before the close. I've actually taken 2 trades already off of this line, this 435, pretty small trades, nothing crazy. And so I'm playing with one final contract into the end of the day. I have a call out to next week's Monday expiration, but if we start to have some weight below this 435, I'll be getting out of that at this point. But yeah, I'm looking for a bigger squeeze out into the close, possibly testing up towards 438, 439 potentially. We've just kind of held up all day, and it's kind of one of those things where I feel like no one really believes it, and it just keeps kind of going and keeps happening, kind of similar to yesterday's move. So we'll see if that happens, or we get some profit taking potentially going into the weekend. Either way, it could play out, but that's all the only short-term play I have. Everything else I've been holding for quite some time, to be honest, other than some small repositionings that I've been maybe doing here and there, just either adding, or into other positions I've already had, or I've been let's see, I have some, or just reallocating into longer dated calls or longer dated positions. That's really it in terms of that. So finally bought puts yesterday, so of course the market's nonstop up. I feel like that's the thing, is that a lot of people did. I felt not that this was I want to say unexpected that we fell to the amount we fell over the past week and a half or so, from this 445 area, 450, right? But it felt like the overwhelming sentiment was pretty bearish. And so I was kind of surprised, to be honest, that we did end up falling to the degree we did. And then I feel like a lot of people are getting caught back up in this. And what this really is, what a lot of yesterday really was a lot of put selling and a lot of shorts kind of closing out of positions, and kind of like a little, short squeeze in a sense, what we kind of saw yesterday, and that's kind of continuing at least onto today. So at least going into next week, I'm not super, oh my gosh, bullish, this, that. We'll see what happens. At the end of the day, we could go to 450 next week, maybe, and that's the next level. We kind of just cut right through this 435, almost like butter. Now, I go back to that 435. Why? Because that was the area as we started to fall below this past week and a half. That 435 was resistance. That was a couple of days ago. That was earlier this week. That was resistance right here. We sold off pretty hard, tried to get back up, and then couldn't go back up there, and then we sold off pretty substantially the next 2 days. So that 435 has been kind of a line that's saying nothing super, super strong, but that's been kind of a key area. Also, that was the area of support that we had back in here on the 14th when we dipped down and bounced a little bit. So that's why that area I thought was, an area potentially to take some profits into. I didn't have any short-term options at the time, so I didn't touch anything. I didn't need to do anything. But what I ended up doing was that when I realized that this is looking like we're going for more, I actually took a call and I sold into that little move right there. I took another one, and I got stopped out on it. Unfortunately, as I brought I brought my stop up, so I made money on the trade, and then that was it. So 2 profitable trades, and I have one that I'm taking. It's not a lottery trade. It's just I think we're gonna, as long as we hold up here, we probably squeeze out into the close. We have another hour and 15 to go, and we'll see. If not, we crack below this 435. I'll be getting out of that, and then just That's it. Just no need to just, I'm not trying to guess the direction next week. Anything can happen this weekend, as we've seen. So there's no need to kind of, go with anything short term out to next week. Just this continuation. Yeah, we can easily continue, and I'm going to be fine if we do because I have tons of longs anyway. And if we don't, then at least I'm not going to screw myself on anything short term. That's the plan. So we'll see. Holding Nvidia and Tesla options, but no gains so far. Well, Nvidia had some news just break. Let me pull it up. It actually rebounding pretty nice. Let's go pull this up here really quick. I'm pretty sure we can scroll through. Yeah. They had some problems with some users are reporting problems, and also I believe they were hit by a cyber attack. So that's why they hit by a cyber attack. I really don't know how big of a deal that really is, to be honest, for the stock. Realistically, I think investors or traders are buying that back up, and that was this dip that we saw about a half hour ago or so. But it's getting bought back up pretty fast. We're kind of hovering around VWAP. Actually, as we speak, we're kind of testing a downtrend right here on Nvidia. So if we get above, looks like 239, 240 area, that could be the down. That would be the downtrend break, at least from today's action in the past. This is just a 5-minute chart we're looking at there. I like to generally look at 5-minute charts. For most of the time during the day, just 1-minute charts are just too noisy, too much little movement here and there, and it's like you can get a good feel for the overall. It's easy to get caught up or stopped out or get hyped up on a move and then it reverses or the 5-minute chart I think is a little bit nicer to kind of play off of, at least for me. So that's what I've been using a lot more, just intraday, watching intraday movements and stuff. So let's see what happens here into the close. We're kind of just like setting up in this big flag pattern. We'll see if we do end up kind of giving some back and coming down towards VWAP or so, which VWAP, this keeps pushing up slowly, but surely that'll be up towards like 434. So if we do break below this 436 or 435, really with some serious, I guess, with some volume, we're probably coming out of 434 at a minimum, I would say, down towards that VWAP into the end of the day. As long as we hold up, if we don't crack down, we could very well push back up to 438 or more into the end of the day. So we'll see how that goes on SPY. Give it some time and let it play out. Outside of that, we have some movers today. GFAI is actually pushing up pretty big as we speak right now. Some cybersecurity stocks after the Nvidia news that just came out a few minutes ago. So there's that going. IRNT, I think they had a short report too come out. This one is, I actually had some, but then I was away, so I got out of it and I had to do something this morning, so I didn't want to hold it. But ended up actually working out. I got some very quickly yesterday, and I was going to risk it to $5. It didn't look great in pre-market, so I figured we're probably going to get an opening flush, and we kind of not really did. We held 5 and it pushed. So I had 5 as my line in the sand, but I wasn't around, so I wasn't going to hold through anything in the morning. So if I couldn't get out of it or if I needed to, so I let that do its thing. Would have worked out though. It was nice for kind of continuation, but this may very well pull back. This is kind of becoming pretty nice in terms of some small cap action. I'm liking how we're getting some good downside moves, to be honest. And as much as that, shorting. There will be some really good shorting opportunities. Now we got some good movers. We're getting some stocks that are making moves of more than 50% in a day, which is like, okay, when the fun stops, there will be some good opportunities to make 5-10%, on a quick breakdown of a trend or on the backside. Once we have confirmed we're on the backside, no need to kind of guess or jump in early. So that's that. I was gonna look at XBI. Where's XBI? Yeah, it's actually red. Now, we had a super strong day yesterday, but it's been kind of consolidating. It did dip early on, and now it's been kind of just consolidating pretty much all day. So here's the daily chart on XBI. Still down, nowhere near where it was. It just got near $100 about 3 weeks ago. So we're still way off from that level, but yesterday's reversal did look pretty bullish in my opinion. So we'll see how that ends up holding up on XBI. Let's see. Looks like the melts up. I mean, it's really honestly too early to say that, hey, here we go. We're going higher, way higher. This is just a 2-day bounce for right now. And if we end up confirming and going higher, next week, it's really going to take for us to really kind of to say we're in a melt up is more of like, okay, we kind of continue to grind higher. And, it's kind of more so like the past 2 years, really, ever since the pandemic lows. We're almost 2 years from that time. that would be more of the melt up. But I can't say that, oh yeah, it's happening, here we go. It's potentially the start of a reversal, maybe a melt up, but that's something that you can't really determine for some time. That'll be, us getting back up to the 460s, back up to those highs, breaking those highs, everyone expecting us to not break the highs. No way, we can't break the highs. There's no way. And then we keep going and going and going. So that'll be what's cool. That'll be what will be, you to kind of look for. So, okay, here we go. SPY breaking down right now as we speak. Let's see if we hold up over 435. I'm going to give it a 5-minute candle close. We get a 5-minute candle close below 435. I'll just get out of those calls that I had short term, but that will be about too nice. It'll be like a small, I guess, on any day trade. So a small green today, which I wasn't really too excited about anything, honestly. I tend to do pretty good on like days like yesterday. So those tend to be my I guess favorite days to take day trades, where we have massive gap downs and everyone's panicking and everything. J Blue, I'm taking a look at some airlines up 2%, pulling back to view up right now. Let's look at the Jets ETF. What's Jets looking like right now? Jets is up 1.5%. Jets is look at that bounce off those lows. Very, very fast move. I mean, very big move off those lows. Now above the 50 SMA, held that 50 SMA today. That was your resistance yesterday where we got stopped, and then now we're pretty much right at that level right now as we speak. So the airline's looking decent. I'm going to check on some hotels. What about Hyatt? I wonder where Hyatt's sitting. Oh yeah, this pulled in. I was liking it versus maybe like the 97. It pulled down, but this could be a very nice trade, especially going into the next couple of months. It seems like, again, the whole, I don't want to say the narrative, like the whole COVID narrative, but like that in terms of, obviously there's other, I guess, bigger issues these days now, but that's like, in terms of press, it's getting no press. Like that has vanished from press, from the media, at least from, a lot of what I've seen. So that's kind of interesting, and I feel like because the market had pulled back in such a way, and now you have the war situation, a lot of these stocks, to be honest, never really got the full push that I thought they could really get. And they could still get that in the next couple of weeks and months, but it depends on how other situations and stuff goes around the world. And, we see NEPT plus 13%. What's NEPT doing today? That's having 2 nice days in a row. What's one to keep on the radar here? This has had 2 nice solid days in a row. Seems like the algorithms are on this guy and are pushing it a little bit higher. Someone's in buy mode right now. Let's see if we get continuation on these things. Some of these small caps. Let's see if we get some continuation there. I'm curious, where's CEI at right now? CEI is kind of getting hit pretty hard right here. Had a nice day or really gap up yesterday, and then ever since that breakdown, we talked about, hey, this falls below 80 cents. This is going to be a breakdown. We did drop down to 69, just under 70 cents. And then now it kind of popped a little bit in the pre-market or after hours yesterday, but pretty much just sold off again. I think it definitely did go. It was down 10%. So you have the SSR. So if this holds up into next week, this could get another squeeze out for sure. If not, though, this could be one to just watch out for, because it could definitely come down a lot more than you may expect. Don't think it has to hold up. If it starts showing signs of strength, then that's great. But if it doesn't show signs of strength, you're very much, it's very possible we're on the backside of the move here, and the better opportunity will be on the short side, shorting into any, pops or any, short-term strength, or any pumps, as you want to say, right? Social media pumps or anything like that could be a better play. With a stop in place. SQ Square, I guess formerly Square, now Block. We have a zone right here that I drew in. That was this zone right here, the prior resistance from a few days back, really. Let's see. We're pretty much hovering right around it, or right in it right now. I mean, you're up 25%, which is wild. But you're kind of just hovering in that zone. So you got to get a breakout up here over 119 from the next leg up, which would be then testing up the highs that we saw in after hours after the earnings or after the conference call yesterday, up to 123. Then there's another zone of resistance up here that we struggled in the past couple of weeks, past couple of months, up from 125 to 130. And then there's a level at 134. Over those levels will be, kind of smooth, should be smooth sailing back to the upside on SQ on Block. But that's kind of your zones to watch. Really, really big gap to fill back down if we do see some weakness in the market next week or the week after that. This could be, or relative, who knows, whenever. It could be even longer after that. This could definitely be one to watch or to at least have on your radar. Let me just draw that zone in again. Here's your gap right where we had movement in the after hours and pre-market hours. So I'm going to bring that across the screen so we can at least potentially have that ready to go if we need to, if that does end up happening. All right, so that 435 held up again here on SPY, so I have no reason to get out of those calls. Again, right, a little bit of a wick down, and those buyers are coming back in. So, we've come back down to that 435 again. We have not gotten a 5-minute candle close below ever since we officially broke out of that level earlier today. So for me, there's no reason to get out of a long position right here until I get a 5-minute candle close below 435. At least that's how I'm playing it. We actually hit 435 on the nose about a few minutes ago. Now we're bouncing back. So we'll see if we can continue that into the end of the day. About an hour left to go. The way I'm seeing it is don't underestimate a squeeze into the close here. There's obviously, we could see if we do get those sellers take control, probably get some profit taking into the close, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get that, continuation into the close. Really shorts on the S&P on a lot of things, whether they're, surprised or not, they're kind of like sitting back like, wait a sec, like, why are we up? Why are we up? Why are we up? Those questions, again, right? Same thing with a stock, with an individual stock. Why does it keep going up, right? Why does it keep going up? Doesn't make any sense. And then that just only kind of fuels more shorts and fuels the potential trade to the long side for another squeeze out. So that's what if we do get a squeeze out into the close, like we pop up, hit new highs again, I really don't know what to expect next week. I wouldn't be like, not that I wouldn't be super bullish. It would be a great strong close to finish out the week for sure. Here's the weekly chart. It would be it looks like potentially a green weekly close after going down very, very low, which that candle right there looks very, very bullish to me on the weekly chart for SPY. But I would just be careful here. We're kind of in a choppy zone, right? We've been, chopping around. This has been a tight range, or it's been a range the past couple of weeks, or the past month, ever since we originally came down to these levels, a few weeks back in January. And so, just until we kind of work through that, which I think very well could take all the way into March till the Fed raises and we kind of get the reality of that raise hits. I think we might be still just kind of choppy, a little bit choppy until then. So we'll see how that plays out. And the Fed, obviously, with the next couple of meetings is going to be pretty interesting to see, right? At a minimum. Okay. XBI, great long term. I think that will be great. Again, how oversold that thing is, and it's an ETF. It's not an individual stocks. You have a lot more exposure to a collection of stocks. So we'll see that. How did Ozon do this morning? Ozon popped, right? Let's see. I got out of the rest of that. That thing hit up to it's still 11. So yesterday on the stream we got in, or at least some of us grabbed something at like 10, around 10:30ish, 10:40. I think I had an average at 10:40. And then ended up, it was yesterday. Going back, here's yesterday's chart. Somewhere in the 1040-ish range, like somewhere up here, which really wasn't the best timed entry. Could have got a little bit lower, down around 10 or even just under 10. But there was a pretty nice squeeze out into the close. This thing popped hard into the close. It ran from that VWAP dip. It ran 30%. I sold most of it there, and then the rest of it, I think I sold this morning or last night or whatever. I put an order in and it got filled. And then it hit up to 1468. So it pretty much got to the target we kind of had on this gap fill back. Now it didn't fill the gap intraday, which this gap, I'm going to draw a line right here. It was just at 15 roughly. So that's kind of like the top of that gap on the daily. We got pretty close. We got to 1469. So we got pretty darn close. It actually worked out really, really well. Pretty fast, pretty nice trade, pretty quick, right? Didn't have to really, worry or at least hold that one very, very long to get kind of. This could be a good one. Again, it's a Russian company. Could be a good one eventually. But with the sanctions, I'm not really interested in overstaying a welcome there on that, other than playing a quick bounce. So we'll see. Pola's up 8%. Let's take a look at that one. How's that chart looking like? I'm kind of curious to see how this plays out in terms of what if we get a move into some battery plays, some EV plays, or some renewable plays. I'm kind of curious because with oil prices and all that stuff, I'm wondering if maybe the herd maybe shifts over to some of those. We'll see. But this one's definitely bouncing and hit new lows yesterday, and now it's bouncing a good bit off those lows, for sure. Those 500 calls in June are not. Yeah, the 500 calls from June too. Look at these. My average. It's actually approaching my average again, which is kind of cool. But these have been right. This hit 46 cents yesterday at one point. And now what are we at now? So from 46 cents, it hit 115. Now it's at 109. It's up, from yesterday's lows, 132%, which is pretty wild. Now the market has bounced, in a pretty big fashion, so it kind of makes some sense. But that's wild. We'll see though how this plays out. We go to 450 next week on SPY, and these should be juicing up to maybe up almost near $2. Contract, depending on how fast you get back to 450 if we do that. And we'll see. We'll have to see if we get the continuation move and whatnot. Okay, SPY looks like it's getting some weakness here, so maybe we'll have to cut that out before the close. All right, let me just fix this because my Webull is not showing my lines. I'm gonna just reset that really quick. Any more news we can pull? Let's see. The pronunciation is, this is what I was saying yesterday. I always remember hearing like Kiev. That's, I think, the Russian pronunciation, but I think the local Ukrainians pronounce it like not Kiev, but like closer to Kiev than Kiev, if that makes sense. That's, I guess, their capital, right? So we'll see how this plays out. But apparently, I think China, I believe China mentioned, or at least said, if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. China Foreign Ministry issued a statement on Ukraine crisis. China says Ukraine territory sovereignty should be respected. China urges talks between Russia and Ukraine as soon as feasible. China calls for diplomatic resolution to the Ukraine crisis. I saw conflicting things from that. I think I saw like China saying they support Russia, but they have their own stuff going on, China and Russia anyway. So I kind of get that. But then this kind of makes sense. It's kind of them kind of walking a fine line of not really saying like screw you Putin because they don't want to do that. But also kind of saying like, hey, like we think we should figure this out in a quick manner and in a less, I guess, deadly and less aggressive manner is kind of how it seems, right? So, I mean, we'll see how that goes. Everyone's seemingly worried about China and what they're going to do with Taiwan and stuff. I don't know. People are talking about how China has, had some more ships, more I guess aircrafts over the airspace and stuff. People were kind of freaking out about that yesterday. So we'll see how that ends up, I guess all playing out. All right, so some big name large caps. Let's take a look at the large cap list I have and see what's actually moving today. Okay, so we got Block, SQ doing pretty well. PayPal is up here to 109, hit 110.50 today, up 4%. AMD had a $8 billion buyback program announced, I believe, yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So this one is one to watch for some strength. The market in the future. AMD could be a really good one to trade options on if you're looking to trade, like either being more day trade based off of intraday price action and whatnot, instead of trading like SPY or whatever. AMD could be a really strong one going forward, especially with that announcement of that buyback program. Another stock that at least I'm more familiar with because I've been holding it for a little bit is Penn. Penn initiated, or at least implements, or at least announced, or whatever, I guess you can say announced, a $700 million buyback program. Now, different companies, AMD, I believe, is much larger than Penn. Penn is what's the market cap on Penn? Penn's market cap is $8.4 billion. AMD's market cap has got to be way higher. AMD's market cap is $194 billion. So it's all relative in terms of these buyback programs. But AMD says, hey, we're going to take $8 billion and we're going to buy back our stock. Same thing with Penn. They're like, hey, we're going to take $700 million and we're going to buy back our stock over the next 5 years. Those have shown some good strength. I mean, Penn has shown some good strength relative to some stuff. As of late, again, right, this thing hit those lows on the 24th when the market hit those lows in January. And then it has been very strong. It hasn't come really anywhere near those lows. So this recent pullback with the war situation, Penn went from 52, hitting 52 almost, down to 45, just under 45, whereas it hit 37.76 about a month back. So some relative strength there, against the markets for sure. Let's see. Lucid is up today. Lucid had a really nasty kind of breakdown below this level of support. Now it's trying to reclaim that 26 level. So we'll see if they can reclaim that 26. Salesforce CRM is getting back up into at least its prior area that it found support. This is one that is a Pelosi stock. I believe Pelosi and her husband have 210 strikes that they bought those 210 in the money strikes when it was up in the 250s. So they were down bad yesterday morning, but I guess they're feeling a little bit better about that now. We'll see how that one plays out. Still in a nasty, nasty downtrend. So we still got to get some more continuation. Again, just a 2-day bounce doesn't mean that we're going to bounce back on everything. It's just, take that into account, right? All right. Killing it today, IMGN for another 10.50 cents. That's nice. I don't even know what it is. That's the best. When we can get back to the, playing those things, the stocks that we don't even know what they are, no one even knows, and you can just play them off a range or off of, levels you're looking at. That's when the market's, it's a little more fun, at least I think. WTRH is pushing up in the top gainer list. The penny player. I guess one of mine, I have one sub 50 cent stock. And I think it'll get caught up. It'll get picked up eventually. I just bought a little bit more of it today. I think because we're seeing some strength in some of these small caps. I bought a little more of that one today. It's at the bottom. It's literally hit new lows yesterday. So we'll see. Okay, TDOC, PLTR. PLTR, I'm curious actually where that is. Let's look at that one first. It's down 5% today. So you kind of see not a lot of stocks, but some of the stocks that have really, really big moves yesterday. Giving back some gains are not as strong today. Palantir is one of them. Had really strong move yesterday. But now it's kind of, getting rejected by yesterday's highs, so it couldn't really break yesterday's highs. It looked like it wanted to in pre-market, then it kind of opened and immediately sold off pretty hard. So now you want to see this thing kind of building from here. So let's see it build over today's low is $11. See it build over $11 into next week and build that higher low kind of, I guess, progression. TDOC. TDOC. Teladoc. What's Teladoc? Yeah, that's actually, look at that trend. It's been pretty solid. It's only up 1.2%, which, it's not as much. It's actually underperforming the S&P today. The NASDAQ was a huge outperformer yesterday. NASDAQ's only up 1%. S&P's up 1.75%. And the Dow is actually the outperformer today. Dow's up a little over 2%. So it's kind of you're kind of seeing a little bit of a shift to some degree in what sectors, or at least what stocks are doing better than others. So tech is kind of taking... they're not having necessarily a bad day, but they're kind of taking a little bit of a seat back to some other stocks that have been maybe not doing as well, or at least yesterday, relatively speaking. So TDOC, let's look at the bigger picture on this thing though. This thing has been such a downtrend. I mean, let's just draw some levels here. Coming in, not the best, but it's kind of, that's kind of your downtrend. So you want to see this thing. Really, you want to see continuation. So these big moves up off of these bottoms, you may think, oh, these are huge, bullish. Yes and no. I mean, I thought that could very well be the bottom for at least the short term. But the problem is that, you open so much lower, so you really pulled down huge. Now these moves get you right back up into levels that were prior resistance, or right back up into that trend. And then it very well could be that we just roll over from here again, and the same thing happens. So what you want to see is continuation. Let things progress. Either they consolidate now, or they kind of grind higher and they break out of these downtrends. And that's what you would want to see for continuation on these names, which we haven't, next week will be a key week for that. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. If you look at Sava, it's a high short interest stock. Yes, Sava tends to go on some wild runs. This is one that, hey, look at this. It's actually yesterday too. It did get down to an interesting spot. It seems like Sava gets picked up in the news every couple of months, right? At least from my experience. Here we go. So down here, under $40 has been a great buy in the past year. So, it really has held up in the lower 30s. So this could be honestly a good one to look at and look at to potentially snag on dips in the future. This has generally been over the past year. All we can go off of is recent history. And so in the past year, this has been a good buy, technically speaking. With some resistance as you get up over $55 per share, and some stronger resistance up here into the 60s on Sava. I kind of like that. It's got a high short float. It's one of those stocks that tends to, when it does run, it tends to run pretty hard. Whether people realize, people like it or not, a lot of shorts try to pile in. I have definitely been a part of both sides of this one, if I'm not mistaken. I remember Sava actually back in the day when it was down here in like the, $1-2 range, something like that. That's when I remember it. Obviously I remember how it made this crazy run last year and whatnot, but I really remember it back in those days when it was, sub $5. Those were the days on a lot of stocks. Did a decent thing, not holding over the weekend. And I think that's honestly, for a lot of people that's not a bad idea. If it's obviously if you're talking about your long-term investments, like it just doesn't matter. It doesn't, to me, it's like just hold them. Who cares, right? But if you're talking about short-term plays, you're skeptical. You think you can get lower averages, and you're trying to time things better or trade better, or you're being more. If you're more of a trader, or you're more of a swing trader, day trader, whatever you want to call it, and you don't really care about the investing side, or at least that's just in a separate portfolio and you keep that separate, then going into the weekend to be same thing I see. I mean, if we get here's SPY. If we get SPY, we'll see it's still holding that 435. So if we get a break below, I'll be out of that last call that I have into the end of the day. But if we get a squeeze out into the close, I personally, I think it's a good idea to take take some profits off the table if you have stuff that has made some nice gains, and just be a little bit leaner into next week. If not, cash is not a bad idea. Seriously, it's not a bad idea going into next week. We'll see. I'm going to be funding or at least tossing some money into a interactive brokers account very, very soon. Just got the account created. I think I'm waiting on a couple little things, approvals and whatnot. I originally opened it up as a cash account because I'm not going to put in 25K. So I'm like, okay, I might as well do a cash account. But then I'm like, wait a second. The whole point of why I got that account was to be able to short. So I want to be able to short. So I'm going to need to have margin. I'm going to need to be able to short. Or I'm going to want that account for sure. That account mostly for right now, I'm thinking will be mostly for shorting, but we'll see how it goes from there. But that should be getting funded fairly soon. So we might be actually moving over at least, or using that account more. It'll be a different platform. We'll see. Hopefully it's going to be nicer, and hopefully we can use it a good bit. That's a plan going forward, potentially in the coming weeks, is getting that one set up with some funds and using it for some shorting. Ideally, realistically, it'll be small. It'll be mostly day trades, probably small caps, maybe some short-term swings on some breakdowns of bigger names and stuff. Not bigger names, but stocks. Like I'll be probably keeping lists of some of the top small cap gainers over the coming days and weeks, and building out like pretty big lists, or just building out a big watch list of stocks that I kind of like, that I know these are trash companies, in a sense, and just building that list, and then coming back and, coming through, cleaning it out every couple of days, and then going back into it saying, okay, which stocks now have finally broken trend, which stocks are kind of in that downtrend mode, which have, fallen below supports, have lost all hope in a sense, which ones have the highest threat for offerings, which ones need capital. The lower risk shorts is what I'll be looking to potentially take advantage of on that account. That's the plan. All right, let's see. More oil. Summer prices are going to start climbing. Gold and silver are swinging nicely. Those have been interesting. The one thing I will say about oil, though, is that here's USO. I'll pull it up. My only thing, it's coming back a little bit into the close, which I think is it makes sense. I think a lot of people are feeling that same way going into the weekend. Hey, we don't know what's going to happen in Russia. Maybe oil is a great hedge, or oil is a great play going into that. It has been heavy off of these spikes. So if you're playing oil plays, or if you're playing like USO, if you're not going to go for some small cap oil names, you could play it a bunch of ways. But if you do go with this, and we open or we gap up, all of these, look at these moves up in the pre-market hours, right, or the after hours. All of these have been sold off intraday the past week, right? Just be careful. Or even we had a little early move here on, looks like was this on Wednesday, and then it sold off. So you want to be obviously getting in low, and you want to be selling into those pops, selling into those spikes. At least that's what it's been telling me. You can hold for a bigger move, sure, if you believe that, but just don't be the one that gets caught, because I don't know, something's been going on here. The logical move, right? The logical thought process is like, okay, go long oil. But I think there's a lot of people who are very bullish on oil right now, and it makes sense. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but it just has been getting sold off after the open the past couple of days. So if you get a nice move, don't be afraid to lock in some profits on that pretty quick, and just so you don't end up, screwing yourself in case, who knows what happens over the weekend or next week or one day, who knows if they open up some more reserves, or who knows, what they're going to decide to do on that front, which something may be coming. All right. Ozon got out at 12.50. That's still, hey, from 10.50 or just under, that's still a $2 gain in a day. That's killer. That's nice. Russian markets were up 11%. Actually, I think they might have been up a little bit more. Let me see. Let me go over to at least what I think I was looking at this earlier. What is it? RTS? RTS, at least RTS. I have no idea what this even is, to be honest, but it's the Russian RTS futures. So this was up It's up 23% as we speak right now. They're still trading. This was up a little bit higher at one point today. So this is up, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was up like 30%. So this thing hit, let's go back the past couple of days. This thing got down to like under 70,000. Meanwhile, this was trading up over, if we go back to the highs, this was trading up at 190,000 roughly almost. It got down to sub 70,000 and then it bounced back to 97. So you kind of see how that's been going. I don't really know if I have too much faith in a bigger bounce, but you kind of knew there was going to be a bounce coming at some point. And we'll see how things play out. But the sanctions are going to be really, really tough on that. So I wouldn't be trying to fight that, but playing for the bounce. But that was, from where it was down under 70K up to 95K or 90, hit like almost 97. It's a pretty nice bounce, at least in the Russian markets. They got very oversold very, very fast. So you kind of can see here, you kind of saw something was brewing there, it seemed like. All right. Here is SPY. We got about 45 minutes to go. SPY again holding that 435. So here we go. Looks like we might want to get a little of a juicy move here. We're about $1.50 off the highs of the day. It's up $8 today, so $1.50 can be, that move can be made pretty fast. So, we'll see, especially if a lot of volume comes in towards the close. I'm curious, so we were talking about the volume. Volume yesterday was just about 214 million on SPY. Go back to the bigger drawdown days that we saw in January. We had a day of 202. So it was second highest volume this year. The highest volume day was 252 million shares. That was on the 24th of July. Was I saying July? Of January. January, sorry. So we had the second highest volume day yesterday. Today we're nowhere near that. It's a Friday, which is generally lower volume. But we'll see. We still got about 45 minutes. A lot of volume does come into the close. It looks like it might be a lower volume, significantly lower than yesterday, but it could be probably right into range with the prior days to that. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. But as we speak, it's looks like we're trying to push up, trying to curl off that 435 and trying to go for a little more of a bounce. I've noticed when playing SPY, on days like this, on trending days where it's like there's not as much volatility as you may think, or at least we've had in prior days in terms of range. Like we have a big move up, then a big move down, then a big move up, and then we kind of get a big, like when there's days like that, you got to be very precise if you're looking to take these. The more precise you are with your entries, obviously trend days, if you're playing the trend, you're obviously you have an advantage, but the more precise you are, the better off you're going to be. So, I actually got pretty precise on some of these plays off this line today. Give me one spike in oil to catch my drip buy. And then if drip to 60, yeah, we'll see. We drop to 60. Sorry, drip to 60. Lifting the Iran sanctions. Yeah, who knows if that ends up happening. I don't want to really bet on that either way. Have a hedge or have a hunch, I guess, and have a position if you want. But I'm not really interested in betting either way on that right now. If I was going to bet on oil, if I was going to bet on oil, I would bet on oil to go down based on just the recent price action this week. Those selling off on the pops, but who knows? Fundamentally, like it makes sense in my mind to go long, but the action tells me, okay, something's going on here, and generally that has told me to go short in the past. So I don't know. I'm just going to stay away. All my penny gold and silver just hit targets. I really like Load. How is Load doing? This is one of my favorite ones. When it comes time, look at Load's chart, Comstock Mining. This is going to be a beast when we get some really nice runs on oil and silver potentially. This is one that's setting up for a big move. It's getting rejected right now by the 50 SMA, but there's been some attention, some volume on this one. I would not be surprised. This would be like, I currently am not maxed out, but I currently have enough positions right now that I'm not interested in. I just don't want to add in anything else. But if I have some cash available, if one of my small caps hits targets or I have to cut at some point, this was probably my next play right here. Holding 125 support, so really not a huge risk to the downside if you cut it at 124 roughly. For I think a move to 150 to you can probably get $2 on this thing at some point. Again, nothing like we don't have to go back to some of these highs that we saw. $9, no. But if we get back to 250, that's a killer trade on a spike. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for a swing idea. Next is looking at some of those plays, and Load is one of my favorites when it comes to that. If SPY dips next week, some more, buy some 500 calls. Yeah, I would say, to be honest, if we rip a little bit here, let's see, I have 6. If we rip hard into the close today and go, and dare I say, push like, 439, 440, which would be wild. If that happens, I'll probably get rid of one of these because I bought a couple of these the past, week or so. I'll probably get rid of one if we get up towards like 125 or so on one of these SPY calls, because I'll get myself down to kind of a around 5, if 5, I guess, instead of having 6, just because I bought one yesterday in the 50s. And so if I can sell one a day later from 50 to 125, that's a pretty big move. So I'm not going to be scared to take profits on that. So if we get a big move into close, I would like that. But next, really going forward, if we hold this 435 on SPY, which, who knows how things play out this weekend and everything. Next level, I'm not really interested, to be honest, until we see up towards 450. That could be the next level to take some profits, or that could be a short zone possibly for a short-term move. That's going to be your next resistance, 450. And who knows, that we never get there. Literally, who knows? Last time we said that, we're like, all right, well, SPY looks pretty good, and here we go, 450 it is. Last time I think we said that was like back a few weeks ago, or about a week and a half or so ago, back up in here after this day, the 16th. We said that in the 16th because things look pretty strong, and then the next day we just sold off and went to 435 instead of going even and touching 450. So, who knows at this point? I think that being positioned, I would really like to see us gain some traction, gain some attention, gain some momentum to the upside, because we can have a really nice bounce. We can have a really nice move up. Would love small caps to get going. I would love it. So hopefully, Silv and KGC. Let's see. How's Silv doing? 2240. This was a great buy, honestly, just a couple weeks ago. Look at that silver chart. This is look at that consolidation, or this flag, I guess you can say. Here's your flag, right? Here's your pull up, and then consolidation, support down towards $20, resistance up into the mid upper 20s. And that's bigger picture, not a super fast mover. All right, the SPY is ripping here. We're going to high of the day. Yeah, we're getting close. We're about 50 cents off from high of the day. So SPY is just bringing us in. Realistically, I could have. I guess I've been holding this one, so it's kind of like, I don't want to say I'm playing with house money, but I kind of am. I could put a stop at the average if I wanted to, but I'm going to let this one play out because you can get stopped out pretty fast on an option play. I do like, if you're going to put a stop loss on something, playing like SPY, if you're playing SPY, QQQ, whatever, a stop loss on those contracts are not bad because, these contracts, the spreads are not that bad. They're not that big. But if you go and play like Apple is an exception. Apple has tight spreads. But if you go and play certain large cap stocks, let's go to look at like Square, or I guess Block, SQ. If you look at Block, let's see their contracts right now. Let's see. Today's contracts, they're not bad, but look at some of these spreads. A 115 contract is 410 by 410 by 380. So there's a 30-cent spread right there. The contract before that's got like a 70-cent spread. These are some big spreads so you can get stopped out pretty quick on a little bit of a wick down or wick up, depending upon if you're in calls or puts. That's the downside of having stops. But for SPY, it's not really like that bad. If you're playing that, like look at SPY. If you look at the option chain here, like look at these. These are even today's expirations. So okay, they expire soon, but a 2-cent spread, a 5-cent spread, a 1-cent spread, it's not bad at all. So you can put a stop on it, and that'll be a little bit of a better way to play it, unless you get a quick wick down and then it rips back up. That's always the risk, right? Playing the ranges, that's been those are fun. I mean, those are fun to play. Actually, let's see how biotechs are doing here. It's the end of the day. XBI, it just went green here. It's kind of just chopping along. $90 we can't break above. So we'll see how things finish up the day. Last 30 minutes or so. Netflix consolidation for swing. Let's take a look at Netflix. All right, it had a big day yesterday, right? Now a lot of these stocks, very similar charts. Lots of profit taking potentially at the open. Quickly bought back up. Now it's just kind of consolidating in the same range that we kind of were at, right? High up here towards 391 resistance, and kind of lows now 385 or so. All right, let's see. I'll look at the daily first. Okay, So this could be setting up for that, right? It needs to get over the highs of today and yesterday, which is key for a move back to the 400s. If you go to the 4-hour chart, yeah, I mean, look at this. Here's your consolidation right now. You had the big move yesterday, and you want to see this thing, give it down. I would say I kind of like that little range. Give it down to like 385, a close below. Well, the pre-market lows here, 383. You can give it to a close below that level, depending upon how much, or at least where you're looking for profits in terms of how big of a picture swing you're looking at. Under this zone, which down towards 383, a close below 384 could be your signal to get out. But as long as we stay above that level, that looks pretty good into next week. It's a little bit of a risk going into next week, but if you give yourself time, you buy some contracts out to, a couple weeks at a minimum, if not, a couple months, you should be okay on that. At least being able to manage it or not getting destroyed if we do get a gap down to Monday because something happens this weekend. So we'll see. All right, let's take a peek at back to SPY. Didn't hit the highs yet. We'll see if we can get that. Another thing too, at least on Webull, on other platforms, you can trade. I mean, I know TD Ameritrade, Webull for sure. You can trade these contracts on SPY 15 minutes after the bell, which is kind of nice. So if you got a big move or you're not really sure you want to stay in, get out, whatever, you can trade them a little bit into the close too. So you don't have to really worry too much about that. If it's a problem where you're like worried about getting in, getting out, you have time to exit. Public service notice: do not get stuck. Put your money in those life cycle mutual funds. Dogs, big red candle, easy bounce. What's dogs? Oh yeah, that just popped. That was that would have been a nice play off that yesterday. This thing was interesting. Look at this thing, right? It had this massive destruction, kind of consolidated for a while. Big range, right? But it consolidated for a while and started going up, and then boom, gets kicked. They did an offer. They may have done an offering, if I'm not mistaken, back in here. And then the thing got destroyed, pretty much cut in half, and then now it's bouncing back 15% today. All right, let's see what else is moving. Let's see, GFAI was popping earlier. Now it's kind of consolidating into the close. ISPO, prior runner. ISPO, this could be I don't know what this company even is. This one could be a really good short. Maybe next week or something at some point. Yeah. Actually, I guess you could even short. I wonder if you can even get shares. Can I? Let's see if I put like a crazy price. Can I even get shares on that? No, insufficient shares. There's probably none available, but I'm sure you can get it on different platforms. This could be a really good short next week off this move, and you want to look at maybe like the 1 hour time frame or the 5 minute time frame. It's too early to tell right now. It's just kind of consolidating and holding up. The longer it holds up, the worse it is for the shorts, because that means they're getting kind of burned with the hard to borrow fees and all that stuff. But this could be a good one next week at some point when it finally cracks down and breaks trend, and there'll be some good movement to the downside to take advantage of, I think. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at where everything is. So Dow wise, is still kind of in this zone, which was support. Now you're going to be resistance. So Dow is still a good ways off those highs. Let's see the NASDAQ, 13,600. Still a ways away from those highs. SPY looks honestly not as intimidating to me in terms of like getting back to highs, all-time highs. I mean, like this isn't that far away. I mean, realistically, right, from where we are right now, you are 10% from all-time highs. It's not that far. I think the NASDAQ is way off that. NASDAQ is about 18% from all-time highs. That's a good bit off. The Dow is probably around that 10%, I'm guessing. Let's see. The Dow is about 9%, actually a little bit less than 9% from all-time highs. And let's look at the Russell. This was kind of similar to the NASDAQ. Let's see how it's doing today. Very strong day today. So two strong days in a row. If we close up to these levels right now on the Russell, S&P, just the markets in general, it's a pretty strong close. You can't deny that. Let's see. Russell is roughly, from its highs, it's off about 20%. So that's down the most. It's off the most, about 20% off. Still a 2% day on the Russell, which is pretty nice. Pretty impressive day. Mutual fund may mutually trade too much and they pay and you pay the fees. Yeah, I know my parents are taking money out of. They have some money that they are holding in a fund. I believe it's a mutual fund similar to that, and then they had the fund. Now, of course, it's going to protect you more in times like this, and ideally, right, times where there's volatility. But the thing is, when we have big moves up, they're not going to make any money. So most like, they're getting the money out, and they'd rather just be able to manage it themselves at this point. But I forget how much money was in, but it was like, let's say there was 25K. I forget what the number was exactly, but essentially the return was like a 1% return in the past 2 years. And I'm like sitting back like, well, don't even get me started with inflation. Okay. So that money is now worth like whatever, 7% less or maybe more in the past 2 years. Right. And I'm like, the market's up the past 2 years. If you just put it into SPY, I mean, you're up, even the pullback now, you're still up huge. And that's in my view, that's unacceptable returns. Like, I'm sorry, maybe you can hedge your stuff and then it doesn't get destroyed in times where, things are bad, but like you're paying fees. I'm like, really? Like to make, 1% off the past 2 years, like really? So, and they took that out, or at least they're going to. I was like, geez. So, I mean, I know how I'm never going to use something like that, but that's just me. Cause some people, again, I guess some people, they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to think about their money. They don't want to worry about it. So that's their decision, I guess. But if you have a little bit more information under your sleeve or whatever, then you can probably make a much better decision with your own money and not have to worry about fees and any of that stuff. All right. Most 401ks only let you invest in mutual funds. Yeah, that does suck. Waiting for my 401k to get back to even, then move it 100% cash. Dave Ramsey explains mutual funds sucking very well. I honestly, everyone talks about him. I haven't really seen too much of his stuff. I know the name. I know who he is like quite well. And there's a lot of stuff that he preaches that I don't really. I'm not going to at the end of the day, everyone do their own thing, but not a huge fan of, I guess, certain things that he says, but it is what it is. Everyone's got their own strategies and plans. And in terms of debt and credit cards and stuff, but I'm a big credit card fan. I really am. I have probably too many credit cards. I guess, two of them gotten hit recently and had to get new ones because they got some fraud stuff. People buying some random stuff online. I have no idea how people are getting the number and how they're doing that, but I guess, people can do a lot of things. Evil mutual funds. Yes. Pushing mutual funds. He's too risk averse in my option. Yeah. I mean, I definitely depends. I guess it depends on a lot of things. If you're much older, okay, then there's a reason for that because, you don't want to lose, you don't want to lose what you've built. And I understand that's kind of the same thing. And we've talked about before too. And a lot of people I didn't even know at the time, but like a couple weeks ago when everyone was talking about like Meet Kevin and how he's one of the biggest financial YouTubers there is now. I'm sure most people have seen at least one of his videos or know who he is and how he pulled his money out of the markets. I mean, at the end of the day, right, the guy's now got millions and millions of dollars in the markets. And if you're scared, you can't relate necessarily to that, and everyone's different. Now, you would think to someone like that, who cares? He doesn't care as much about money as maybe someone with, a 1% of his wealth, right? They're be more attached to that movement and that money and what happens to it. But, when you have a lot of money and you don't want to lose it, like, your emotions take hold sometimes. And, I understand everyone's in different situations. That's how you get, the closer you get to retirement. That's why it's whack what's happening in Russia because, I don't know how invested they are in their markets and stuff, but think about someone who's like 60 years old in Russia right now, who was fully invested and just lost like half of their net worth or more. A couple of days ago it was much more. Like, what? Like, can you retire now? I don't know how that stuff works and what they do and if everyone's heavily invested out there. I don't really know, but that's wild. So people freaking out off of that stuff. And generally, you see a lot of that stuff happen at the worst time. People freak out at the absolute worst time and sell or whatever and make those decisions. But, it is what it is. Part of the game. It's been going on for years and years, right? All right. Dave's old school, drive a 30-year-old car kind of guy. My dad's the same way, honestly. Right now, it's weird. Right now, it sucks because you can't really do anything when it comes to a car. It's like if you want to buy a used car, it's like, well, I'm paying way more than I really need to pay for these things. But it's like if you need a car, you need a car. Ideally, the best situation would be you have a couple cars, one or two cars. Family have a couple, maybe you have three or four. Who knows, depending on how big the family is, right? And you don't need one of them. And you can, and you're like, I don't really need this, and I can get rid of this right now for a good chunk of change. Now is the time to dump one of those cars, in my eyes, if you don't need it. And then a couple of years or a year or two goes by, and maybe the market kind of cools off, and you can kind of find something maybe that's a little bit nicer, find something newer that you like or whatever, and get at least maybe a better deal. And who knows if it's a better deal, but like at the end, you can get something. If you want to go cheap, you can probably get something cheaper for a better deal. You want to go used. But then, or just take the money now and use the money now, pay off any debts, or use it for something else, right? If needed. So, Dave Ramsey also says use your money to pay off single-digit mortgages when you can make double-digit returns with that cash. Yeah, that's the thing about that too. Is I believe he's much more in the camp of like, you have if I'm not mistaken, you have like 3 loans, right? So you have a car payment, you have student loans, and you have a mortgage or whatever, right? Whatever's smaller is what I think he tells you to pay off first. Now I get the snowball effect, if that makes sense. I get it, but also it to me it doesn't make any sense. Like, pay the highest debt first, pay the minimum payments, but then pay extra if you can on the higher debts, the higher interest rates. So you're at least, cutting down and not paying as much in interest, I guess. But I guess for some people it's nicer to, okay, one of them comes off the slate. Okay, now I got 2 left. And then you start tackling one really, really hard. And then you go up. It depends on really what works best for you, what, mentally and how you see things. But a few plays. Let's see that you're looking at next week. Next week, to be honest, right now, a lot of stuff with these 2 big moves, very, very strong finishes this week. I would want to see continuation moves. So, for example, if we get continuation, it's all really going to depend on the overall market right now and what happens this weekend, and if anything comes out of Russia and the Ukraine. If more comes out and it gets dirtier and worse, I expect us to potentially gap down further, although the market may have already taken that all into account and discounted it. AMD just announced an $8 billion buyback program. So AMD, resistance right here at like 122 to 123. Over that 123 is level on AMD, sorry. We're going up towards 130. I think we're going to 130-ish pretty quick, and then we can go much more, depending upon the market strength. So I like AMD, to be honest, a lot. Nvidia today had cyber attacks and whatnot. That could help fuel, maybe potentially brought in some more shorts. Nvidia could also fuel that. I'd be looking up towards the 255, 257. That's the trend line, and eventually a break of that trend line could be a massive move back to $300 on Nvidia. Which I'd be careful. Again, it's gonna correlate with the market here. So you are at the mercy of what happens geopolitically and the Fed and whatnot, and how the reaction is taken there. But those are 2 stocks I like right now, at least on that front, large cap wise. And then when it comes down to small caps, it's tough to say because we haven't really gotten continuation moves on some of these names. I'm going to go back to a couple of things we've looked at in the past. So let's look at some of these other names we've been seeing. SOS could be interesting. I'm not a huge fan of the company, but it's a small cap with some momentum. It kind of came right back down to that level. It could definitely squeeze back out, though, because this is one that, hey, has been building kind of higher lows. If it builds higher lows from here, holds 70 cents into next week, with Bitcoin potentially pushing this weekend, we'll see what happens with Bitcoin, then that could be a good one to watch into next week as well. I would definitely not, I'm not a big fan of going heavy into anything, on a Friday afternoon after a big ripping day on the markets, because you're putting yourself in a, at least I think, you're buying right into the strength, which is fine if we have more strength next week, but everything has kind of told us in these situations to hedge yourself. So it wouldn't be a bad idea, honestly, to grab a put or something like that, just with a next week expiration as well, just as a hedge. If you have a lot of longs, grab a put as a hedge, just because now you can sleep at least a little bit better at night. Obviously not as good, or not as, everyone always, like, I used to get really bad with this and looking at futures and stuff, and I know too much and all that stuff. You maybe can sleep a little bit better at night, knowing you're hedged in case something crazy happens, or just in case the market opens up super, super low Monday, or we have a nice pullback day. You can take advantage of that. To be honest, that's how I'm positioned. Other than that, though, I have my longs that I've been, in for months now, weeks, months, on most of them. I think most of them has been months, and that's it. I have nothing short term. I have one SPY call that expires on Monday, which I'm going to sell before the end of the day anyway. That's it though. I have nothing else short term. I have no March expirations. The closest expiration date that I have is June 17th on anything. So I have given myself plenty of time. And I am generally, personally, I'm generally bullish right now because of how much fear and everyone's kind of, I think the past 2 days are a good example of what we've seen in terms of sentiment wise. Everyone was super bearish. And so, we're kind of pushing up and we keep grinding higher as everyone is like, freaking out and worried. And that's just kind of, propelling the markets higher for now. We'll see. Read, listen to Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah, I did I ever, I don't know if I actually ever did, but I think at least I read summaries years ago. I forget, there was a couple other books like that I've read, or at least I listened to audiobook wise, in a similar kind of, I guess, camp, right, as to Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's a great one though for someone who's new, who hasn't heard of it. That's definitely a great idea. Going on a Friday take profit spree right now. Yeah, if we get that's with strength right now in the last 15 minutes of the market, I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. Don't pay off any debt with an interest rate less than the expected rate of the market. Honestly, that's how I am, but I guess everyone is in a different sense. I have student loans. So, I have student loans that I'm paying some because I have some private. Some of it was split up depending upon when I got the loans initially. Some government, some private. So some of it is not actually due yet because the government has halted those. But I've been paying the private ones, paying more than the minimum because, I want to kill that off as fast as possible. But I'm paying those, and ideally, if I'm returning whatever in the markets and the loans have an interest rate of X, then and I'm returning over X on average in the markets, right? I'm not going to be super, super jumpy to jump and pay as much as I possibly can if I'm making more in the markets. And then in a year or so, I'm paying the minimums. I'm fine. I can afford it. It's fine. It's not killing my lifestyle. And then in a year, I can take a chunk and kill it, right? With a bigger chunk, ideally. Now, obviously, that's risky because anything can happen in the markets. The markets crash. That is what it is, which is why I would do that with, let's say, more of like a day trade portfolio type of money and not necessarily like a longer term portfolio that I ideally don't want to sell. I want to just be buying these things and not selling. But if you're in and out and you're being and you're getting to cash every night or cash every week or whatever your plan and strategy is, then maybe that's something that you can do. Maybe it's not for everyone though. And it's somewhat risky, but if you can afford to pay the payments anyway, then to me, it's not a big deal. If you're affording the payments as it is, and obviously it's not for someone who is just, a beginner, thinks they can come in and start day trading tomorrow. It's someone who has done this for quite some time, has experience, knows what they're doing, and just knows their numbers. Your numbers pretty well. Then what makes logical sense? Go with what makes logical sense. Let's see. You better fit rather than suffer from inflation. Exactly. Some advice is decent if you don't have emergency funds. That's an emergency. Yeah, that's true. I have. I don't know if you guys know I might have a link to get some like free tickets or whatever in my videos or descriptions. The Yada Bank, the Yada app. I think it should be linked below. That's what I've been using. I know a lot of bigger name YouTubers were like promoting that and are invested into that company. I use that as my like emergency fund. So I have a recurring deposit set on that every month, and I get, it's nothing big. It's just a small recurring deposit, and essentially it's like a high interest savings account. Now it's not paying you a huge rate right now, but you're entering into a lottery. I think my rate on average is like 1 to 2, maybe between like 1 and 3%, which is not good, obviously with currently with inflation, obviously, but you're entered into a lottery every single week. And so you kind of have a chance to win more, or you have a chance to win a Tesla. Like you have a chance to win these things rather than, than not. So it's like kind of for me, that's like my emergency fund in a sense. If I ever need that money, I can always jump in there and pull it out. But in the meantime, I'm always in a lottery every week. So there's, you're playing a lottery ticket, but you're not just tossing money away into buying lottery tickets. You're putting money away into a high interest savings account, almost, in a sense. Not a super high interest rate right now, but you're in the lottery. Let's see. Futures are accurate for the day. I know people who futures in terms of at night, who knows? That stuff is nuts. I know people who are to trade futures now pretty much like 90% of the time. If you learn to trade futures, all of them have said that it makes you 10 times a better trader on options, on SPY, or whatever you're trading in general. The risk is China taking Taiwan. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I don't know. I don't want to say. I feel like everyone was like, oh yeah, Russia's not going to do this, and they did. So I don't want to say anything, honestly. Yeah, there's no way China acts, and who knows, they might. I think long-term calls in the move. I think personally that is a much better way to play a bounce back on anything, and you don't have to worry about the market going up tomorrow, right? If you're giving yourself buy-in time. Buy when there's blood in the streets. Exactly. Pay off your government-backed student loans ASAP, like taxes. You can, yes. The thing is, I'm probably going to refinance them though. Like 95% chance I'm going to refinance them in a couple months because they come due soon, unless they get pushed. Here's the problem though, is if you refinance them a little bit early, and then the government delays them again, and there's no interest being accrued on them. So like, I'm absolutely not going to pay it if there's no interest being accrued. But now if the government I don't think they're going to push it again. They could though. Who knows? If they do push it again, well then, and you refinance or whatever, you're potentially most likely out of luck in terms of getting that pushed. So if you refinance, they're like, hey, this is due. Like, I don't care. You're not on the government's terms anymore. I believe most providers, that's how it is. So that's the only thing. That's why I haven't done it yet, at least on that front. But we'll see. Markets up on a Friday afternoon. Well, golly gee, yeah, they have. We've got some strong resistance here up towards 437.40. Let's see if we get we got 10 minutes left. I'm surprised if we're gonna sell off. I would expect us to sell off here, but we kind of haven't. Just kind of hovering slowly and just churning and just grinding, and everyone who is in shorts is kind of sweating themselves right now, like, oh my gosh, here we go again, or here we go. It's kind of like yesterday all day. My loans did disappear. ITTD Tech went under. Well, there you go. That's lucky. That's a lucky situation. I would have loved to be able to go back to Penn State and be like, hey, you guys want to forgive these loans? That'd be nice, right? But no, unfortunately not. Go to war for NATO and oil, period. Well, let's see what happens. So 3 of these candles now hitting this 437.45 resistance, seemingly pretty strong. I have this last call that I need to ditch. Ideally, I would like us a little bit of a squeeze out here. Let's get a little squeeze into the last 10 minutes, and I'll ditch it there off making a few more cents, a few more bucks. But if not, I have 15 minutes into the close to sell it. It's also expires on Monday anyway, so I'm not super worried. Here we go. We're testing the resistance right now. Testing it. We could rip high the day right here. There's some good volume coming in too. It's the last 10 minutes of the day. We could rip pretty fast, or we could just profit, tons of profit taking too. My guess though is that a lot of this rally the past 2 days is a lot of short covering and stuff. So this tends to make me believe we rip into the close, shorts covering into the weekend potentially. My idea. Yeah, they're not going to forgive the. I mean, that's the whole thing with the. I don't want to it's not getting political or anything, but that's the whole thing. When Biden did start, he did say I think he promised like $10,000 of forgiveness. Technically speaking, you can be pissed. I mean, or you can be like, yeah, was it realistically going to happen anyway? I don't know. There's everyone who was like, yeah, forgive all student loans, however many $1 trillion that's going to be, but. They're not gonna. They need that money. They need that money. They want that money. So, realistically, yeah, they can keep pushing it back and push it back, but they're going to get that money eventually. So that's not going away. I'm going to call SPY a bull flag for Monday. I hope that'd be cool. I mean, nice little rip Monday. So let's see what we got here. We're testing. We haven't hit a high of the day. We're close. We haven't hit a high of the day yet. Let me zoom in a little bit more so we can get a closer view of the final seconds of the day. Teasing us here with this little touch up to, what is this, 437.68, and 437.73 is the high of the day. POAHY bought this week, already up 5%. VW talking about IPO Porsche. My chance to own Porsche. I was telling my dad, I'm telling my dad to look into one of those because they're cool. I mean, I know people love the 911s. 911 Turbo. I used to hate the look of a Porsche. It's kind of grown. It's honestly, maybe it's because I'm getting older, I guess. 23, it's still not really old, I guess, for most people's classifications. But I guess as the years have gone on, the Porsche has kind of grown. I mean, I never liked the look, and now the look has kind of grown on me. Even though it still kind of reminds me of just like an old man, with the top down, just driving around. Because like most of the people who are driving them are generally old, but if you're young with one, that's cool. That's pretty cool. Oh, I didn't offend anyone. Okay, so we're like 5 cents away from hitting highs of the day. It seems like there it is. High of the day. Boom. 437.81. Do we get how big of a push can we get? All right, I have these right here. Let me just get these. Let me get rid of these. All right, I got one of these. Let me see if I can get a $5 target sell on this. If I can get 5, that would be sick. And let's see if that hits. It might hit if it get a push into the close. Yes. If not, it could hit in the after hours. If not, I can just jump in and get rid of it before the end of the day. I got 15 minutes anyway into the close to get rid of it. So a little bit of a higher push over 438, and that will fill within seconds. So we're like, a 25-cent pop away from that filling, which would be like a $75 trade on that, which would be the third trade. I think I would have 3 of those in a row today, roughly speaking, if that hits, which is nice off of just playing this level off this 435 pretty much all afternoon. Porsche might have higher energy costs. It's okay to drive cool cars if you're young. 430, it's getting stuffed a little bit here. I've been liking, to be honest, I've always been a big Mustang fan. I've been like the Mach-E, right? That was something that I never was a big fan of initially. Let's look it up. Mustang Mach-E. I wasn't a big fan of this body initially. It was kind of looking weird to me, but it has grown on me as I have now driven in them a couple times, and I have seen them live, like in real life, and I like them. Like I kind of like them for an EV. I like the white. I mean, I don't know. People say that, people tell me like, oh, come on, you like white? I like the white. Maybe this is like, if it was like a silver or metallic, depending upon how, honestly, I like the white. I'm telling you. It's not loading or it's blurry, but like, I like the body look of that, to be honest. And, I originally loved Mustangs, and I like the Mustang look. And then I'm like, going the EV route would be cool. And then, to be honest, an SUV I'd rather something a little bit bigger anyway. So that's something, I mean, especially with driving in them now a couple of times, they're pretty cool. There's people who drive them every day that I've talked to who are like, yeah, I mean, it was one of the driving, I guess it's like the Uber equivalent around here. In Austin is like a fairly new company. It's just like Uber, but electric vehicles only. So they have Teslas, they got the Mach-E's, they got some electric Audis, they got a bunch of different stuff. And he's like, yeah, I drive the Tesla Model X, I drive this. He's like, they're honestly like pretty comparable. He liked, at least from him, he liked both. He liked both of them, pretty similar. He couldn't say that he had like a huge favorite. So I don't know, something to think about. Too minimalist to own an actual Porsche. I'll be the owner of a company. My whole girlfriend disappeared this winter, saving me a ton of money. Let me tell you, that is that's a major expense, I would say. Now, good and bad, I would say in my own personal life too. I definitely spend stupid amounts of money. I mean, not like stupid amounts of money, like, thousands. I'm talking about, more, just relatively speaking, hundreds of dollars a month that I probably could save or wouldn't spend just going out to eat and doing things and whatever, if I was just living alone. But I don't. So now we split rent, so there's that. So there's the bonus, I guess. I can see having a Mustang maybe one day. We'll see. I also don't need a car right now. I literally don't even need one, so I don't have one. We split. My girlfriend, she has a car that we've just been sharing because she works 2 blocks away. I don't need a car. And so I don't need to worry about having to pay a car off right now if I don't need one. Eventually, one day. Eventually, we'll need one or get one. But for now, if I don't need to pay it, I'm not going to pay it. Wish I know you like Mustangs. If you like working on cars, I would have given you a 2000 Mustang GT. Wow. Donated it last year rather than watch it rust away. Rather rust away in the driveway. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, but I like the newer Mustangs. But now I'm thinking if I really was gonna get a Mustang or get a car, I probably would just get them. I would probably go with the Mach-E, to be honest. Probably now. We'll see. Drive a turboed blue 2000 Civic. My brothers love the Subaru WRX. I'm not like against it. I just wasn't like a huge fan of the look, but like my brothers love that car. The deep, or the electric blue is what they call it, I guess. When did every person in the house need a car? Yeah, no, exactly. All right, so I'm kind of surprised, honestly. We just ended up just shopping and range trading all afternoon from 4:35 to 4:37-ish all afternoon. I was kind of expecting either we get a pullback, a profit-taking kind of pull, or we get a squeeze out. We could still get a little pop in the last 2 minutes here, but I was expecting maybe a bigger move up. But whatever, I guess it doesn't matter what I expect at the end of the day. Skateboard everywhere. That's sick. I wish I was, I never really got into skateboarding, to be honest. As a kid, I broke my friend's arm skateboarding one time, just messing around with him. Not that that was a deterrent for me to skateboard, but I never really got into it. Messed around a little bit, but never really got super into it. So, yeah. Everything rusts here near the beach. Ah, I see. Here, everything gets covered in dust. So it's one of those. It's no one's been doing it lately in my apartment complex, but in the garage, if your car is sitting there and you haven't driven it, right, and just has it's just encased with dust after a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and so you guys can imagine. Now, to be honest, most people that live here are generally, I would say, we're talking 20s, 30s. There's some families, 40s. We're not talking only young 20s. We're talking late 20s. I would say the median age is probably in the low 30s right here for my place. But people are that SPY call just filled at 5, so it was a $75 on that trade. That was nice. So it was I had 3 of those to finish off the day. It's pretty good. What is that, $225 on day trades, roughly today. So round to $200. On that, on top of the portfolio being up, that's pretty good. But yeah, people draw. You could just imagine, right? Picture a kid in high school or middle school, what they would draw right in the snow, or what they would draw on a car. You know what I mean? That stuff's getting drawn on people's cars. I think it's hilarious because hey, if you didn't clean if you're not gonna bother to get your car washed, hey, you're gonna get something drawn, a nice little surprise in the back of your windshield. That's the issue. We have just dust around here. PLTR. What is PLTR up to? All right. So we did close at the literal high of the day, though, which is generally a very strong sign. PLTR finished down, but it closed pretty decent here today. Let's take a look at this daily chart. Honestly, if this thing holds over $11, it's kind of just sitting on that little shelf. This could be pushing up to $13.50, fill that gap. Even $14, not out of the question next week if we get it. 1.3% on the account today. Oh, that is nice. That is very nice. WRX are called slow RX. That's another thing too with the 1% per day. Like people significantly, I think, underestimate the reality of that. And I mean, you compound that over the course of a year, that is a killer, strategy or just a killer goal to have. I mean, who cares if someone's doing 20% on their account with options because they're YOLOing some SPY calls, or they're doing 100% whatever in a day? Who cares what someone else is doing? Do your 1% per day. Who cares? That's more than enough. And that will stack up compounded very, very nicely. All right, let's finish up. How do we finish up this? There we go. Back to the Mustangs. Still a blurry picture, I guess. But yeah, these aren't loading. Whatever. Okay, cool. FinViz. How do we finish up here? I would imagine we finished a little better. Okay, about 75% of stocks advanced, 21% decline. The rest, I guess, finished flat. 83 new highs, 119 new lows. So we are skewed because we are generally closer to the lows. So again, skewed a little bit to the downside there. And almost 30% of stocks are back above their 50 SMA, and 27% are above their 200. It's pretty good. I mean, it's getting back up there off the rebounds. It looked pretty nasty 2 days ago, or yesterday morning really, but things have made nice moves across the board. So we'll see. Here's SPY. SPY 435 is your support. I mean, it's clear as day, right? I had this line drawn in here as it was a prior support back here about 2 weeks ago, and then was resistance, I guess, early this week or last week. No, that is early this week. So it was resistance early this week, initially hit it, and then got rejected on Monday. Hit that 435, got rejected hard, fell like almost $10 intraday. And then now we got above it. So we're above that level. And now to me, I mean, there could be some resistances, some smaller areas to grind through. It's not as clear in my eyes now until we get to 450. So that's the next super strong area that I'll be watching, 450 on SPY into next week. Let's look at QQQ really quick just to see how tech is doing. Let's go to the daily chart on that. Looks really strong. Looks really strong on QQQ. Let's go to 30-minute chart. I have a zone drawn here at 350, so we're close to that. Picture this, QQQ hitting 316 in pre-market hours yesterday. And now it's closing at over 345. That's just wild stuff. IWM, how did the small caps do? They closed up 2.25% on the day. Pretty nice move there. I mean, 205 is your zone. I mean, they're small caps, by the way, are right back into getting up to that resistance again. 210 is your zone to watch. They're right back up. They're within a couple of days of hitting that. Dare I say 1 day, right? If we have a crazy day on Monday. So we'll see how that goes into next week, but it has been a wild week for sure. I have to resist trading on days I shouldn't trade them, but I'm a junkie. Yeah, I mean that's part of the problem. That's something I feel like I've been gotten a lot better with. I would feel the need to just do something when there's no need to necessarily do anything, and I've gotten a lot better at just like letting something fall into my lap if I'm going to take it, or just letting it be, and not necessarily needing to do anything. For example, yesterday I had a square, I guess it's block. Like this thing was like super enticing probably to trade the earnings reaction and whatnot. I didn't touch it. And then I started to notice it right here. I was picking up pizza and I was about to leave, and I just noticed it. I was like, wait a second. And I just grabbed just literally paid for pizza. I literally grabbed a quick 10 share short, made a $3 move on 10 shares because it finally cracked below like this 114. That was kind of where it was holding up. And then, you're getting a little bit of possible profit take into the end of the day, into the after hours. And we had how many, these are 5-minute candles. We had 10 of these in a row. We went down to 112. I took profits at I think I got 111.50. I was in at 114.50. So I made $3 off 10 shares. It was, $30, but it technically paid for the pizza. So cool. I was like, hey, $30 is $30, right? Just playing for fun, but just playing off that key zone to watch. That was at least, I'm getting better at doing that stuff and honestly seeing those opportunities. And I was saying before, we're going to have, very soon, we're funding a Interactive Brokers account, which, by the way, for those in Canada, I believe is probably the best place to be commission and fee-wise if you're in Canada, because you don't have access to Webull, at least as of now. So that's probably a good place to be, but I'm going to have that and probably use that mostly for shorts. And we'll see, maybe using on the live streams more. We'll see how that goes, but that's the plan going forward. It has been fun. You deserve thousands of people watching, but it's like, honestly, I don't care. Like, I really don't care. Like, maybe people will eventually come around, and who knows, things grow and whatever, and which ultimately, yeah, it'd be cool to grow things to a larger community and stuff. But it's fun. It's fine. I'm not gonna complain. Limits views shown. I think it's rigged. I have no idea. It's weird. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I just got a copyright strike on one of my videos from like a while back that I made like a year ago, that I had some like, I literally went to YouTube's like copyright free music. I downloaded a file and I used it in my video, and then I got a copyright claim yesterday. I'm like, what the heck? Like, okay. I mean, I don't know. That's not why I feel like I feel like sometimes you feel like you shadow ban a little bit. I don't know what I did in the past, but I see other channels, I see other people doing stuff that I'm like, man, I don't know how they got that many views, but okay, whatever. They're like selling and shoving a Patreon down your throat like every freaking second. It's like, okay, like they're making a ton of money. Like, think about that. If you see someone, just in general, right, pulling like, I don't know, like 10K views a video, especially with sponsorships nowadays. I mean, you're making a couple grand per video sponsor on like a 10K view average video, whatever. Couple grand from sponsors on that, minimum, affiliates, courses, and then picture a Patreon. You can even, sometimes they'll even tell you how many Patreons, right, are part of the group. These guys, I mean, oh my gosh, like, no wonder people can't relate, because they make so much money that it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, nothing matters. Like, their trade, their investment. Okay, well, I'm just going to make that much from my Patreon next month anyway, and I'll just make it all back. So, okay. Hopefully it's more, hopefully keep things more relatable here. At least that's the goal. That's the intention. Keep it very transparent and relatable. That's the plan. That's the goal. So that's the same thing I do. Tomorrow's video, again, will be the recap of this week in the account, portfolio, market update, all that good stuff. And we'll see. I'm not even sure if I'm red or green. I think I'm probably close to even, to be honest, from where I closed last week, based on how everything went, which is not bad based on how wild the market was. I'm not going to complain. So we'll see. I need to work on that. Sometimes I feel like I have to make a trade. Yeah, that's the thing. That feeling also comes with, like, I feel like early on too, you feel like you got to do something, or there's also a subtle addiction to it. It's like almost like betting and gambling, which I used to have a problem with that back in the day, back in college, but I don't anymore. At least I think. I have never gotten back. I would love to get back into sports betting, but like with a strategic approach. But I just have never gotten back around to it, and I don't need to do that right now, personally. We'll see. Most of them are con artists. I mean, I don't want to say I have anything against you going and getting your money, because you're okay, great, go make your money. But I don't know. It is what it is. So I try to be as most at least as more. It makes no sense. More educational behind things. Also, not coming on and saying, I know exactly what the market's going to do. I know exactly what the stock is going to do. I have absolutely no idea. But, we can manage risk, and we can take, calculated risks and stuff like that. And ideally, that's how you can, you don't have to be the smartest person in the world to be a profitable trader. And I also don't care. The end goal here is not to be the best, percentage-wise trader, not to be the best this, best that. That's not the end goal. The end goal is to be able to, to snipe a trade one day, or 1 week or whatever, make a stupid amount of money in the way I see it, and not have to worry about, like, okay, I got to pay the bills, I got to pay this, I got to pay that. I can do that, and I've now built a skill that is now going to pay me for the rest of my life that I can always use, right? That's the intention behind it for me. And if that means that, you're taking, a 0.5% trade off of, or you're taking a 0.5% move because it's a highly probable move, and you're just trading shares on SPY. And I know people these days, as they graduate to the next level up, they're just going entire portfolio into SPY or a very, very large position size. But we're talking hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, and SPY goes on a $2 move, and you have $1 million in, right? I mean, do the math on how much money you're making, right? So, then that's where you're making FU money, in a sense. That's the intention behind that, and you're building a skill that you'll have for the rest of your life that no one's going to be able to take from you. It takes time to build that skill. It takes time to, work through a lot of the issues and then the struggles and the ups and downs early on. But as you build up and your account grows over time, right, you can get to that point. That's what it's all about, at least for me. 2% gain at close. Wish every day was like that. I know. That's why I watch 99. I appreciate that. I really do. I really do. You can really grow your channel. Just tell us to buy SHIB over. Oh my gosh. Oh, I know that, unfortunately, right? But I think at the end of the day, too, people will see past that stuff and they'll be like, hey, you know, what's the people get the better quality stuff is eventually what comes through in terms of maybe I could do a better job in terms of quality of videos and stuff, but editing wise, which I know I don't do a good job of, but that's just also not necessarily me. But you know, that is what it is. All right, I appreciate you guys tuning in. The one thing that does help though a lot is thumbs up on the streams, thumbs up on the videos. That tells you, helps a ton. Comments help the algorithm out because I respond to like all the comments as well. Those spam bots though, I mean, that stuff's getting ridiculous. If you see someone talking about Mr. Jenkins in the comments or whatever, there's a new name every day, and how their trading professional has made them so much money, report that as spam because it is spam. I try to report as many as I can, but YouTube still doesn't seem to have a handle on some of these things. So that is that. Apparently some news just broke out. Russia and Ukraine are discussing a place and time for talks. So there we go. So maybe we got some positive news coming out over the weekend instead of negative news, hopefully for a change. We'll see. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you in tomorrow's video, recapping the P&L for the portfolio this week, any moves and stuff like that. We'll talk about that. And that's it. Thumbs up button, and I will see you guys.